Hello. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this video yet. It's probably the hardest video I have ever attempted to make. What the hell is it all about? David Bowie, the death of David Bowie. How people have reacted to that, how I've reacted to that, and many things related. It's not a tribute to David Bowie, though I am a huge big fan, but that's not really what this is about. It's probably a bit self-indulgent. A lot of people were very, very surprised when they heard the news on Monday morning that Bowie had died. I wasn't. I have been, for the past, well, ever since Hours, actually, when he released Hours, I have had this feeling that he has been wrapping things up. Hours, Heathen, Reality were all, as albums, they all felt like he was tidying things up. Self-reference, looking back at his past work, putting it all into place, shall we say, tidying up, something like that. It felt that way to me anyway, and I thought, he's getting ready to retire. And then he disappeared, and we heard nothing for 10 years. And then the next day came out, and I was like, this sounds a bit final. You know, there was something about it, but it's absolutely fantastic album, but there was something that seemed very final about it, and not in like, okay, this is me retiring, but something a bit more than that. And then I saw the video of Black Star, and it's like alarm bells ringing, and I'm thinking, whoa, this is not just art. He's saying something here. The whole Major Tom, you know, the skeleton in the spacesuit, that was like, whoa, is this the death of the character he's representing here, or is this something more? Absolutely alarm bells ringing. And then the video of Lazarus, and I was like absolutely certain by then, it's like, he's dying. He's telling us. Masses of clues, self-reference. I mean, I read a review of the album by The Guardian, and they got it so bloody wrong, it annoyed the crap out of me. They were saying this is him cutting off himself from his past works and moving forward, and I'm sitting there thinking, are you fucking blind? There were self-references left, right and centre, in lyrics reused, in pieces of music reused. In the video he's wearing that stripy outfit that he'd worn back in his Young Americans, I think, era. That was loads of self-references, and the whole being in a hospital bed thing, the major alarm bells ringing, and I'm thinking, he's dying, and he's dying. Well, here's the thing. I didn't think it was going to be that soon. Andrea came and woke me up Monday morning at about 7:30 and said, David Bowie's dead. And I was like, what? He's only just released his album. He can't die now. That's some mistake. I thought he's dying, but I thought he got months. And so did those who knew. Tony Visconti thought he's got months. So, and Andrea sort of looked at me and was waiting to see, am I going to get upset? And I didn't while she was watching. She went back downstairs, I came in here and went on Twitter. I'd only had 2 hours sleep at that time, I was shattered. But I went on Twitter and I looked at things, and then she went off to work, at which point I sobbed my eyes out. And I proceeded to sob my eyes out for pretty much the whole day. I just played, I've got a big collection of Bowie albums, like everything except Tin Machine 2. And this is the thing, this is kind of what I want to look at really, because I didn't understand myself. Why the hell I don't know this guy, I've never met him, he sure as hell doesn't know who I am. Why am I so upset that a celebrity has died? Someone I've never met. In my life I have been upset 3 times at the death of celebs. My camera was doing something weird then. I got a bit upset when Ayrton Senator died. Got a bit upset when Ayrton Senna died. Probably partly because, well, we were all watching at the time. You see someone die on screen in front of you, you get upset. But he was a sporting hero to me. He had always been there, or so it seemed. And the same with John Peel. But I mean, we're talking like 10 minutes, shed a few tears, and move on. With Bowie, it was just like wallop, punched in the guts. Couldn't get a grip, and really, it's difficult to explain it. I have been one in the past to look at public displays of grief at the death of celebs and think, get a grip. You know, come on, stop being silly. Princess Di, when she died, I saw all the outpourings of grief and I was like, I don't get it, what's it all about? It annoyed me. I was like, I don't, stop it. And then on Monday, crash bang wallop, I'm sitting here sobbing my heart out and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? And it's very, very, I had to kind of look at it for quite a while. And I think it's a number of things. One is, to me, he has always been there. Now, I wouldn't say I have not been knowingly a Bowie fan all of my life. I mean, yes, he's been there all of my life, and I've been aware of his existence since I was 4 or 5. I remember looking at this LP. It was a compilation LP that my parents had got, and there were 2 pictures on it. There was Elvis Presley on one side and David Bowie on the other with his Aladdin Sane streak thing. And I knew who Elvis was, but I was like, who's that? My mum said, it's David Bowie. And I was like, who's David Bowie? And she said, oh, he did Space Oddity. And I'd heard of that. And some other stuff that I hadn't heard of. And, you know, I heard singles of his, and sometimes I knew they were, and sometimes I didn't know they were. But anyway, I probably got into him properly. I mean, probably all of his major singles I was aware of at the time. But it was when Tin Machine came out. I bought the album and I thought, this is really bloody good. I'd heard little bits of it on the telly, I think. I thought, this is great. I need to check out his other stuff. I've heard some singles, but you know, he's meant to be a legend. He's been around for donkey's years, and I was at this time starting to take music. Well, for a while I've been taking music really seriously. And when there's someone who you're told this guy's a legend, you're like, well, I probably ought to check him out. Bought the Let's Dance album. Meh. Fantastic singles. Love them. Really brilliant singles, but an album is a sack of shit. And the whole EMI trilogy, they're shit. They're terrible. And I bought Ziggy Stardust and the Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, and I was like, I'm not getting it. Of its time, very much of its time, and I was not of that time, and it didn't really do it for me. It wasn't. I don't think it's a good place to start if you want to get into Bowie. And then I bought Low, and I was like, oh my god. And Heroes, and I was like, oh my god. So it was from the point, Tin Machine, I started buying his stuff and gradually built up a collection of his back catalogue, and then proceeded from there to buy his new releases, Black Tie, White Noise, and so on. And I've completely forgotten what it was I was trying to say. Haven't always been a fan, that was it. But there's the thing, what I found when buying his back catalogue, though I would never have said I was a fan of his before getting into Tin Machine, I kept finding song after song after song. I know this, I love this, and I love this, and I love this. All these singles that have been around for donkey's years, and I didn't actually know they were him. At which point I realised I probably am a bit of a Bowie fan. And from that point on, whatever he released, I bought it. And so he has kind of been there my entire life. And the thing is, yeah, I don't know the guy. I've never met him. But it's like the things he sings about are things that I can relate to. And he said it himself, while his musical style changes, the subject matter has always been the same. It's always been about alienation. It's been about being the odd one out. It's been about not fitting in and struggling to find a place in the world. And another thing he said in an interview, and it may or may not have been the same one, he didn't know who he was. He got all these characters, Ziggy, Aladdin, Saint, Thin White Duke, you name it. And they were characters, because it was easier on stage at least to be a character. But they were characters on top of a character, because David Bowie is a character. Now he knew how to be David Bowie, but he didn't know who David Jones was. And it is that, where the hell do you fit into the world, that is in all of his songs. And I kind of related to that. It was like, you're talking to me. It felt that way. It just felt like these songs are written for me. Yes, that's so massively self-centered, and obviously he's not. But that's kind of how it feels. And when you've had that for years and years and years and years, here's a song that it's like, it's not like he's mentoring you, but it kind of feels in a way like, you're not the only one. I know how you feel. And so it does feel, it's like, it's not like, it is like they're your friend. If you kind of absorb yourself in the music, you lose yourself to it, and the lyrics to some degree. I don't spend a lot of time listening to lyrics, but I could get the feel and the emotion. And there's the thing, it is, music, listening to music is an emotional thing. And if you absorb yourself or lose yourself to the emotion of songs over a lot of years, and I mean, I've been listening to his stuff for over 40 years, whether by choice or because it was there, you feel like you have a personal relationship with that person. And all of a sudden, for that person to be gone, it takes a recalibration of your thinking, because it doesn't take the music away. I can put on any of his albums whenever I like and listen to them, and the music is exactly the same and it speaks to me in exactly the same way. But I've had to recalibrate because it all becomes past tense, if that makes sense. It takes away the what comes after this, where's the progression? There's no more progression. The progression has stopped. This is all there is. And it's a different way of listening to music and relating to it. In my head, at least, it's just different. If I listen to Elvis, I don't listen to Elvis because I don't like his music, but if I do, my brain says this music is a piece of history. Where listening to Bowie has always been, this music is from the world you live in now. And it's having to recalibrate and put it into the history category. It's a very jarring kind of thought process mechanism thing. It just is jarring. But the weird thing, I mean, my dad died a couple of months ago, is it? I don't actually remember how long ago or when it was. And the thing I found most about that on an emotional level was puzzled. And I was puzzled at why I wasn't upset. And I think I wasn't upset because I didn't have never mind, I didn't have a healthy relationship with my dad. I didn't have a relationship with my dad at all. So when he died, there was no change. You know, I have been thinking of him in the past tense for decades, 20 years at least. Even though he was still alive, I thought of him in the past tense. So when he died, there was no having to switch mode. There was no having to switch from current to past. But with Bowie, it was all of a sudden someone who really, though I'd never met him, here's what he did, what he said, and how he said it, meant more to me on an emotional level than anything my own father ever did or said. Bowie made me feel good. My dad never did. So when my dad died, I was like, when Bowie died, I felt like I'd had my guts ripped out. And I think it's the emotional content, how over such a massive long period of time, my whole life, and having to switch all of that content from one context to another, from present to past, and kind of trying to make sense of it as well. I mean, I found myself doing a thing. It was because of Black Star. He'd been giving us clues, and it was like, there's a riddle here. There's something that will make sense of this. There is something. What's he trying to tell us? Maybe nothing apart from he's dying soon, but it felt like he'd left us a riddle, and I did my head in for a time trying to figure out. The only thing I got from that, I mean, there were clues to many things in those last two videos, but the one that puzzled me, that I thought this has got to mean something, I think was just another clue to the fact that he was dying, and that was the buttons on his eyes. And I was like, that has to mean something. What the hell does that mean? There was actually something about the imagery of Black Star that a few years ago I thought I was going to die. The doctor told me I had a heart problem, and they gave me pills. They gave me beta blockers, which really did not work well for me at all, so that I thought I was dying. I could not get up and walk across the room. I thought, I'm dying and I'm dying soon, and it was really, really scary. And the kind of imagery that goes through your head, freaky stuff, is in Black Star. That Villa of Ormond, whatever, you know, where you're seeing the buildings and the lightning in the background, and every aspect of that. Yes, I think that's where your head kind of goes when you're on the way out, or you think you are, because it just all looked a little bit too. I think it's probably why the alarm bells were ringing in my head, because it's like, I've been there. What was I saying? But the buttons, they were a clue, and maybe just a practicality or maybe a joke. Coins for the boatman to cross the River Styx. When you've died, you've got to cross the River Styx to get to wherever, heaven or whatever, and you have to give money to the boatman. Or is that where they put a coin on your tongue? I don't know, but it's something like that. But of course, if he's standing up and singing, he can't have coins on his eyes, so the bandage and the stitched on buttons, it's like, I've heard it said before, how am I going to pay, what am I going to use to pay that buttons? Yeah, I think that's what that was, buttons on the eyes to represent coins on the eyes that they do when you die, to cross the River Styx. That's my theory. Anyway, it kind of... I don't know what. I just thought I'd mention it. It didn't really answer any questions or make me feel better. I don't know. But, yeah. It was a day. It was a rough day. It still makes me sad to think about it. So I just spend an awful lot of time listening to his music. I should probably, I don't know if it's healthy, I probably ought to listen to something else. I tell you what, I cannot listen to Under Pressure, sung with Gail Ann Dorsey. Never mind the Queen version. The one with Gail, there's one in 2006 in Ireland, I think it's in Dublin, on the reality tour. There's video of it somewhere. And I can't listen to that, where it's just whoosh, floods. Don't know why, couldn't tell you. Maybe because Gail Ann Dorsey is filling in for Freddie Mercury, who was passed. And then watching that, it's like, well, she's filling in for him. Who's going to fill in for Bowie? Can't watch it. Love it. It's not my favourite Bowie song, but it's the one... Ain't there one damn song that can make you break down and cry? That one. I think that's all I've got to say on it. I think all those people, and I have been one in the past, who say, what is all this mass outpouring of grief at the death of a celeb? They don't get it. I didn't get it. I did not understand. Now I do. And it sucks. Anyway, I needed to do this because I've not been able to do another video. I need to do some gaming videos and I couldn't do any until I did this. So here we are, I've done this. Now I can get back to doing what I normally do. So, thank you for watching.